long is this going to take?
Is such a thing even possible? Yes, it is.
Hey guys, Darren Sugiyama here, CEO and founder of Lionsmark Capital, the most transparent premium financing intermediary in the life insurance industry. So we've been working on this tech platform for quite some time, and we are happy and proud to announce we are ready to go live. So one of the biggest, I think, frustrations that advisors have had with premium financing intermediaries in general is the amount of turnaround time it takes to get a proposal back, especially if you want multiple versions of that proposal done with different client contribution amounts, different death benefit amounts, et cetera, et cetera. Sometimes that turnaround time can get a little cumbersome when you're dealing with clients that want answers now. So at Lionsmark Capital, we built a proprietary tech platform that allows agents to input the client data and literally in less than 2 minutes get not only a carrier illustration, but also a Lionsmark Capital premium financing proposal. We partnered with National Life Group as the carrier on this platform initially, and we're working with other carriers as we speak right now to add them to our platform as well. But for right now, Lionsmark Capital and National Life Group, this partnership on this tech platform is really, really special. So what happens is the advisor inputs the client information on our platform. Our platform then sends the electronic information to National Life Group's illustrator via API feeds. National Life Group's illustration platform then sends that data back to the Lionsmark Capital platform, which then automatically puts that in the Lionsmark Capital premium financing proposal software. That software then pumps out the Lionsmark Capital proposal. And like I said, that entire process takes less than 2 minutes. And that includes the client information input on the advisor side. The reality is, once you as the advisor click submit after you input that client information, you will literally have both the carrier illustration as well as the Lionsmark Capital proposal back in your hands in less than, are you ready for it? In less than 12 seconds. So in this video, I'm going to show a quick demo of what this looks like in real time so you can see just how fast the turnaround time is. And I will also demo the Lionsmark Capital proposal document and walk you through what that looks like. Right now, we are only offering this in the Rothish platform. This is an accumulation and retirement income type of design. Some people call it a LIRP design, LIRP, which stands for Life Insurance Retirement Plan. In the Rothish premium financing loan model, the likelihood that the client is going to have to post outside collateral is really slim to none. And unlike some other premium financing designs from our competitors, Rothish does not require the policies to be batched under any sort of master trust. The policy can even be owned by the insured person from the very beginning all the way until the loan is paid off. We do not need to use any high early cash value riders, and we also exit the loan in year 11 as opposed to year 14, 15, or 16. We have 19 different lenders on our platform, so we're able to broker out the best loan deal with the best loan terms and the best loan rate for our clients when they participate in the Rothish program. So here we go. Let's take a look at the platform so you can see how it works in real time. Hope you enjoy. So one of the easiest ways to start the conversation with a client is by asking them, have you ever heard anyone say anything negative about a Roth IRA? I've personally never heard anyone say anything negative about a Roth IRA. In fact, people love Roth IRAs so much that they do Roth conversions, right? So I think it kind of defies conventional wisdom because most people think they want to use pre-tax dollars to fund some sort of retirement plan or maybe even some sort of investment. But the reality is anytime you use pre-tax money, when you start to liquidate that asset in the form of retirement income, that income becomes taxable. And that's why people are willing to pay the taxes now when they convert from a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA, because they want that tax-free growth and then they want that tax-free retirement income. So when we look at the Rothish program, again, it is not a Roth IRA, but because it's taxed similar to a Roth IRA, it is quote unquote Rothish. But let's start by talking about why people like Roth IRAs. Again, it's simply due to the taxation. They love the fact that it grows tax-free and they get to take tax-free retirement income out of the Roth. But is that if a household makes more than $252,000 per year, again, that's a married couple, they do not qualify for a Roth IRA. So what do you do for a client that likes the idea of a Roth, but is not qualified to do a Roth because they make too much income? This is really where Rothish comes in. Within the Rothish program, they will actually experience more tax-free growth than a traditional Roth IRA. They also will generate more tax-free retirement income in most cases. And even if a married couple makes more than $200,000 per year in household income, they do qualify for the Rothish plan. In addition to that, because the underlying product within the Rothish plan is an index universal life insurance policy, they do have the protection against market crashes with the 0% floor. And they can contribute as little as $36,000 per year or as much as their cash flow allows. The only real restriction would be their insurable need. So the death benefit of the underlying IUL must be a reasonable amount relative to their overall income in their financial situation. We have clients that will contribute as much as $100,000 per year, even $300,000 to $500,000 per year. So if we look at a comparison of a traditional Roth IRA compared to the Rothish premium financing program, they both take after-tax contributions. They both receive tax-free gains. Neither of them are subject to required minimum distributions. Both of them provide tax-free retirement income. But here's where the difference is. With a traditional Roth IRA, obviously there is no 0% protective floor, versus with Rothish, again, because the underlying product is an index universal life insurance policy, we do have a 0% floor to protect against market crashes. And when it comes to retirement income, the Rothish plan can generate up to 5 times more retirement income than a traditional Roth IRA. So let's take a look at the key features of the Rothish program. The client is going to pay a flat dollar amount for either 5 years or 10 years. So we have 2 different Rothish programs. We also don't use any BSB riders or high early cash value riders. And the reason is that we really don't need to do that. In some alternative premium financing programs, they almost have to use those high early cash value riders because they have to boost the cash value in the early years to eliminate any outside collateral need. Within our Rothish program, we do not use any high early cash value riders or BSB riders. And in most cases, the client still does not have to post any outside collateral. The policy serves as the sole collateral on the premium financing loan. The other nice thing about not using any BSB riders or high early cash value riders is that the commissions are paid out the same as a traditional non-finance policy. So usually when you use any sort of BSB rider or high early cash value rider, the commission is spread out over, say, 6 years or so. In the Rothish program, that is not the case. The agent gets paid commissions the same as a traditional non-finance policy. The policy can also be owned individually, or it could be owned by the insured person's own LLC or their S Corp if they have an operating business that they're running, or they could have their own individual living trust. With some of our competitors, they have to have that policy owned by some sort of master trust with all these other policies pooled into that master trust. In our situation, literally the insured person could own the policy as an individual person if they wanted to. Or, like I said, they could own the policy inside their own LLC or their S Corp or their family or living trust. Another thing that makes the Rothish program unique is that we typically exit the loan in policy year 11, which means that the client can start drawing an income stream as early as policy year 12. Unlike some of our competitors, you can't really exit that loan until, say, year 15, which means the client has to wait until year 16 to start drawing income. In our Rothish program, they can start drawing income as early as policy year 12. And then lastly, within the Rothish program, we can actually take in 1035 funds, which creates huge opportunities for advisors that have clients that have a current in-force life insurance policy with some significant cash value. The client can roll that cash value from their existing policy into a brand new Rothish policy. And when we run a side-by-side comparison between keeping it where it's at and continuing to fund the in-force policy versus 1035ing over and starting a new Rothish policy, usually that Rothish design is going to far outproduce their current in-force policy for the same out-of-pocket expense that they're currently paying right now. Okay, so let's look at a case study here. This is a 45-year-old male making $200,000 a year in annual income, and let's say they want to put away $50,000 per year over the course of 10 years. So the client, again, is going to fund this at $50,000 per year. starting in year one, and they're going to do that for a period of 10 years. And in the Rothish plan, the bank actually comes in the third year. So in this situation here, the bank is going to fund an additional $140,000 in change between policy years 3 and 10. And that type of premium schedule is going to generate a little over $2.5 million of face amount or initial death benefit. Now, the death benefit is nice, but in most cases, Rothish clients are really doing this to generate that tax-free retirement income stream. So with this type of client and this type of contribution, that's going to generate a tax-free retirement income of just over $151,000 per year over the course of 31 years. That's between ages 65 and 95. So essentially, the client has contributed a total sum of $500,000, and the total income drawdown exceeds $4.6 million. Plus, they still have some residual death benefit left over for the life of the contract. Here's what it looks like on a ledger. Again, here's the client paid premium here of $50,000 per year. And then the bank, again, is going to come in year 3, and they are going to fund an additional $140,000 in change. So if we look at the total premium schedule here, it starts out at $50,000 in year 1, $50,000 in year 2, and then it jumps up to $190,000 in years 3 through 10. Again, the client is paying $50,000 of that $190,000 of premium, and the bank is funding $140,000 of that $190,000 in premium. So we build this based on the premium schedule. We design it using a minimum non-MEC death benefit. So this is a max funded policy, even though the premiums are less in the first 2 years. We also see that because the bank starts funding in year 3, the policy has had a chance to start accumulating cash value unencumbered by any third-party debt until the third year. So by the time the lender comes in the third year, the policy cash value is greater than the, which means that there is not going to be any outside collateral needed. So again, the client is contributing partial premium, and on the borrowed premium, they are going to accrue the interest. And because this design is so conservative, even with that accrued interest, there is still no outside gap collateral needed. And as I said earlier, we are paying off the premium financing loan there in year 11 using the policy value. So in our Rothish proposal, one of the pages compares the Rothish design to a taxable investment account using the same annual client contribution, in this case $50,000 per year over the course of 10 years. So this is the summary page that outlines the comparison. Now, at the very bottom of the screen there, we see the taxable investment account is being taxed at a rate of 24% in capital gains tax. How do we come up with that? 24% capital gains tax would be the top tier tax rate for a married couple living in the state of Texas, making $200,000 per year. And again, in the state of Texas, there is no state income tax. We're also assuming the same gross index crediting rate of 6.84%. Same index crediting rate that we are showing in the policy, and we're assuming a 1% investment advisor fee in that taxable investment account. By contributing the same $50,000 per year over the course of 10 years and starting the income drawdown at age 65, in the top right-hand corner there, we see the total cumulative income drawn down from both the Rothish premium financing policy there in the brown bar versus the much smaller retirement income drawdown of the taxable investment account there in the gray bar. The reason the income is so much less in the taxable investment is that that taxable investment account is being drawn down to zero right around the 27th year. So if we look at the line graph on the top left-hand corner of the screen there, we see the black line that represents the as illustrated carrier death benefit net of loans on an ongoing basis within the Rothish premium financing policy. The brown line represents the ongoing cash surrender value net of loans, and then the dashed gray line represents the account balance of the taxable investment. Again, we see that account being drawn down to zero right around year 27. So here it is on the ledger, starting at age 65. Again, we see the $151,000 drawdown from the Rothish policy. And again, that's going to continue through age 95. And then we see in the taxable investment account, when we start to draw down the same $151,000 in change, that account gets drawn down to zero way ahead of time. If we compare the Rothish program to a non-financed IUL using the same exact product, the differences are pretty dramatic here. In both scenarios here, we're going to have the client contribute $50,000 per year over the course of 10 years. And in the non-finance policy, that's just a $50,000 annual premium on a 10-pay with no leverage whatsoever. In the Rothish design, the client's contributing the same $50,000 per year for 10 years, but in addition to that, the bank is starting to fund additional premium in years 3 through 10. In both cases, there is no outside collateral requirement, and so when we compare the differences in outcome, it's pretty dramatic. The non-finance policy starts out with a $1 million face amount, whereas the Rothish policy starts out at just over $2.5 million. So a little over 2.5 times the death benefit for the client. And from a drawdown standpoint, the non-finance policy generates just over $104,000 in annual retirement income, whereas the Rothish policy generates an income of over $150,000. That's a little more than 44% more income drawn down and 2.5 times more death benefit. And from a target premium standpoint, the non-finance policy has a target of $23,000 and the Rothish program has a target premium of $59,000, so a little bit more than double. If we compare the Rothish program to one of our competitors' alternative premium financing programs, this is pretty eye-opening as well. The other premium financing program case study shows a $100,000 annual contribution over the course of 5 years, and so we modeled that same funding mechanism in the Rothish platform. In our competitors' program, they don't pay off the premium financing loan until the 16th policy year, whereas with the Rothish program, we are paying off that third-party lender in year 11. And what that means is in our competitors' program, the client cannot start pulling retirement income down until the 17th year. So when we compare these apples to apples, we showed the Rothish program pulling income starting in the 17th year as well. It's pretty interesting because our competitors program, you can only pull down $90,000 per year starting in the 17th year, whereas in our program, you're pulling down $95,000. The other difference is that the target premium in our competitors program is only $81,000, whereas the Rothish target is over $102,000. So pretty substantial difference there. Our competitor does use the BSB rider, whereas with our Rothish program, we do not use any BSB riders or high early cash value riders. And what that means is that the commissions in our competitors program are spread over 6 years, whereas in the Rothish program, commissions are paid out just like in normal non-finance policy. Our competitors program requires the policy to be placed in a master trust with a bunch of other policies, and they can only submit those policies in tranches several times per year because they're grouping multiple policies to be owned by that master trust. Within our Rothish program, the policy is not grouped together with any other policies, so the insured person could own it individually, or they could own it in their own individual trust or in their operating company. And so no tranche placements. In other words, these policies can be issued as soon as the carrier extends the offer to the client. And then lastly, in our competitors program, you cannot access any sort of accelerated benefits during the first 5 years because you have the lender involved and you have that grouping of policies in that master trust. Whereas with the Rothish program, the client could actually access their accelerated benefits through that accelerated benefits rider, the ABR rider, within the first 5 years, because in this particular design, the lender does not come in until the 6th year, when the client is funding this for only 5 years instead of 10. If the client's funding this for 10 years, then the lender comes in the 3rd year, and that was the design we looked at earlier in this webinar. So let's talk about the ideal client and what the client qualification requirements are. The client is going to need to have a minimum household income of $200,000 or the greater of $200,000 and 4 times the client contribution. So in other words, if a client wants to contribute, say, $50,000 per year, 4 times $50,000 would be $200,000. If the client, however, wants to contribute $100,000 per year, times 4 would be a $400,000 income requirement. So they're going to need to make the greater of $200,000 per year in household income and 4 times whatever they want to contribute. The minimum client contribution is $36,000 per year. And again, that is paid annually. We have clients that contribute several hundreds of thousands of dollars per year as well. There is no net worth requirement in this particular type of setup as long as the face amount is $4 million and below. We can obviously do much larger policies than that. In that scenario, the client is going to be subject to more traditional premium financing requirements from a financial underwriting standpoint. But in most cases, if these clients are doing this for retirement income and they're contributing somewhere between $50,000 to $100,000 per year, that face amount is going to be below $4 million. And so there is no net worth requirement. They just have the income requirement. And this is kind of what I was just talking about right here. Again, to put it into perspective, a male age 45, preferred non-tobacco, making a $50,000 annual contribution, that is going to equal a $2.5 million face amount, so well below the $4 million max. And then lastly, the age range that will qualify for this program is between ages 18 and ages 65. Okay, so how does an advisor get a custom proposal for a Rothish case? In the past, the advisor would have to send us the client info, the name, date of birth, health rating, etc., and then we would turn around a proposal in about 2 business days. But now that we built our proprietary tech platform, you can literally get both the illustration from the carrier and the Rothish premium financing proposal in less than 2 minutes. So you could be sitting with a client and in real time generate a full proposal right there on the spot. We don't give everyone access to this proposal system, so you do have to request access, which we'll talk about at the end of this webinar. But once you've been approved to use it, you can literally turn around a proposal in less than 2 minutes, which is pretty crazy. So how are we able to do this? Well, our software system sends API feeds to the carrier's illustration software system, which builds the illustration based on our proprietary algorithm, which then sends the illustration data back to our software system electronically, and then our software system converts the data into a customized Rothish proposal for you. Again, all this happens in less than 2 minutes, and that includes the time it takes you to put the client information into the system. Now, once you finish inputting that client data, which will take you about 60 seconds or so, you just hit the Submit Form button, and you'll have both the carrier illustration and the Rothish proposal in your hands in less than 12 seconds. So let's take a look at how this works. So this is the part that everyone was anxiously waiting to see, and that is how to run a proposal. Typically, when an advisor wants a premium financing proposal, they would have to fill out some sort of form. That form would then be submitted to the premium financing intermediary, and then that intermediary would have to run a carrier illustration, extract all the data out, dump that into their proposal setup, and then they would crank out that premium financing proposal. We've recently built a technology platform where you as the advisor can input your client information. It takes a little bit less than 1 minute to do. And by the time you hit submit, to the time you get a carrier illustration back that's custom built just for your client, as well as a Lionsmark Capital Rothish proposal, it will take less than 12 seconds. Yes, you heard that right, 12 seconds. I'll take you through how this works so you can see what the user experience is like. So you go ahead and log in with your username and password that we issued to you. And then you're going to go ahead and click on National Life Group Carrier Illustration and Lionsmark Proposal. Once you click on that button, this is the client data entry, and you're going to select the client state. You're going to put in your name as the advisor. You're going to put in the client's first name and last name. You're going to select their gender from the drop-down and input their age. And then you're also going to select their health rating. We'll say preferred non-tobacco. We're going to select, say, $50,000 annual contribution, and then we're going to input the client income at $300,000 in this case. Loan design is Rothish. They're going to contribute a flat dollar amount, and they're going to contribute that for 10 years. You could select 1035 funds. We'll say no 1035 funds in this scenario, and we're going to assume income starts at age 65. You click submit.
12 seconds later.
And then bingo, you have the full report. So you can click on that little blue button there, and that will generate the Lionsmark Capital Rothish proposal. And then you can obviously download that to your desktop. You can also go back up there and click on Download Carrier PDF, and you can save the carrier illustration to your desktop as well. And then if you go up there and click on Submissions at the very top, we have a library of every single case that you've run, so you can access that at will. In addition to the proposal ledger, we also have the section at the very end called the Client Memorandum of Understanding. This is extremely valuable because it goes over all the elements of the Rothish program in full disclosure. So we explain how premium financing in general works. We also talk about the element of collateral. In most cases with these Rothish designs, the policy will serve as the sole collateral. But I think it's really important to have the full disclosures in the document that the client signs that explains what collateral is and how that is a variable element. It also goes into interest and how the interest is calculated, as well as how the client contributions are calculated. We also go into explaining how variable borrowing interest rates work. We also go into policy performance, index performance, and how that is another variable. We talk about how the loan is paid off. We also talk about how the policy charges work. And then we also, at the very bottom there, explain that we are not CPAs, we are not giving them tax advice. This is probably my favorite part of the disclosure section, and we call this client acknowledgments and attestations. So every element of a premium financing policy we are explaining here, and the client is initialing, saying that they have read this and they understand the concept of interest accrual, the concept of floating interest rates, the concept of volatility in the market. They're also initialing off on how they take policy drawdowns. They're initialing saying that, yes, this premium financing design is suitable for me and my financial needs and my budget. And then lastly, we are having them sign. We have the advisor sign, and then we sign on our Lionsmark Capital side. So full disclosure, and really the proposal is really to be used as a client education tool. Not only does it protect you from a liability side and a full disclosure side, it also explains to the client how this all works in very plain English. So if you'd like access to running these Rothish proposals and being able to turn around a carrier illustration and a Lionsmark Capital Rothish proposal in less than 2 minutes, here's how you can request access. Not everyone gets access to this. You do have to qualify, but here's how you can request access. So go to our website, lionsmarkcapital.com, and click on Private Advisor Login in the top right-hand corner there. That will jump you to a page where you will either sign in with your email address and your password once one is issued, or at the bottom there, you can click on the little link there that says Request Access. The very bottom of the page there, click that, and then you can fill out your name and information. Tell us a little bit about yourself. We will take a look at your background, and if we decide to grant you access to this, then you'll be issued a password, and again, you would log in with your email address and your password on the Lionsmark Capital site. So that is a summary of the Rothish program. Again, it is really designed to make premium financing easy, not only easy for you as the advisor, but also easy for your client to understand and easy from a client/user experience. So I hope you enjoyed this webinar, and we look forward to working with you on these cases. Talk to you soon.